Number 47 is what the other class struggled with, so I'm going to show you how to do it. So here's the general formula. Notice it looks like the formula that we've been looking at, except there's no velocity, there's no linear term. That's just because you're dropping it, it's not moving in a parabolic fashion. So letter A is pretty obvious that Earth, because it's bigger, it's going to have a stronger gravity, or that the gravity is stronger. You can see 9.8 meters per second is Earth's gravity, where 3.73 meters per second is Mars's. So things are going to fall slower on Mars. Letter B is, you're just going to use this formula, and you're going to compare them. So for Mars, you're going to use the formula, and I'm going to put in 120 for the height, because they're dropping it from 120 meters on both planets, and you're just going to compare the times. But for H, that might be where it's a little bit confusing. For H, you're going to put in 0, because you're trying to calculate how long it takes to hit the ground from 120 meters. So we put 0 in here, we multiply, so we've got negative 3.73 over 2, t squared, plus 120, or you could have divided the 2, is equal to 0. Okay, next, because we're only dealing with one variable, I'm going to subtract 120 on both sides, and I've got negative 120 is equal to negative 3.73 over 2t squared, and then I'm going to multiply it by the reciprocal, so negative 2 over 3.73, and then multiply by negative 2 over 3.73, and your final answer for t, oh yeah, well I'm not finished. So I've got t squared is equal to positive 240 divided by 3.73, and now you have to take the square root. Divide 240 by 3.73. Take the square root and you find out that the time it takes for it to fall on Mars and hit the ground is 8 seconds. I think it was 8.02 seconds, but they rounded to tens place in your book. Okay, so now that you know how to do it, this is for Mars, and I'll tell you the solution for Earth is 8 seconds. I'm sorry. No, for Earth is 4.9 seconds. So t for Mars is 8 seconds, and t for Earth is equal to 4. Move this over so you can see it. 4.9 seconds. Remember, 32 might have been a little tricky as well, so I'm just going to show you how to do it. So base times height divided by 2 gives you the area of a triangle, BH over 2. And we know that the area is 45, and then our base is x times 8, and our height is x, so we've got, or sorry, x plus 8, so x plus 8 over 2. And we wind up with 45 is equal to x squared plus 8x over 2. And I want to get rid of the 2 from that denominator, so what I'm going to do, sorry, I'm trying to erase this. What I'm going to do is multiply both sides by 2, and then I will be rid of the 2 on that side, and then we're going to wind up with 90 on this side. So we've got x squared plus 8x is equal to 90. And now we can set it equal to 0, and then I believe we'll be able to factor it. Let's find out. X squared plus 8x minus 90 is equal to 0. And it turns out I was wrong, so what we're going to do is complete the square. We already have it set up. We're going to divide the coefficients of the linear term by 2, and then we're going to square it. So we're going to divide it by 2, and then square it. We're going to do that to both sides. 90 plus 8 over 2 squared. And we wind up with x squared plus 8x plus 16 is equal to 106. And we're going to make the perfect square. X plus 4 squared is equal to 106. We wind up with the square root of plus or minus the square root of 106 plus 4. And I remember this from last year, actually, because you get 2 values for x, excuse me, and one is 14.3, and one is negative 6.3. The question is, the answer in the book is 6.3. I think the answer in the book is incorrect because you can't have a negative length and the height of the triangle is supposed to be x. So it's not, it shouldn't be 6.3, it should be 14.3. So hopefully that won't throw you. Okay, now number 33, we've got 2x times x plus 5, and we get 110. And we wind up with 2x squared plus 10x is equal to 110. Can't complete the square with a leading coefficient other than 1. So we're going to factor out the 2. And actually, we're just going to divide the whole equation by 2. And we wind up with x squared plus 5x is equal to 55. We're going to complete the square. X squared plus 5x, we're going to divide it by 2, and then we're going to square it. 5/2 squared. And what I did was just completed the square on both sides by adding half of 5 and squaring it to get 25/4. This 55, 110, yeah, 220 to get a common denominator so we can combine these two fractions together and hopefully simplify from there. 2/24 plus 25/4 is 2/45. So let me make a new slide. Okay, square root of both sides, and we wind up with x plus 5/2 is equal to the square root of 245 over 2. We're going to subtract 5/2 from both sides, and we have x is equal to the square root of 245 minus 5, because we're subtracting 5/2. We're going to put all that over 2. Take the square root of the 245 and round to the 10th place, and you get 15.7. So negative 15.7 minus 5 is we get negative 20.7 over 2. And we do the positive 15.7, subtract 5, then we wind up with, we get 10.7 over 2. This one we could disregard because that's going to be a negative length, and we're talking about x, the side of this rectangle. But this one, we do not. So this, if we reduce, we get the answer, and we wind up getting 5.32, and 5.3 is actually the answer in the book, so that one's correct.